Good morning, ladies and gents. Today is more combat stuff. More and more and more. So, the ideas that we started yesterday, I actually had more. I added a little bit last night. I worked for another 15-20 minutes to make sure I wouldn't forget anything and that I put some basic architecture into place. But luckily, it's nothing too crazy. In fact, I went with the simpler of the ideas that I came up with. So hopefully it won't be too hard for folks to kind of follow along and understand what's going on. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you just have an idea and you really got to get that into the system. Also, I did some boring stuff last night. Inserting objects into a sorted list is not terribly exciting. You can see it's just a short little function that checks initiative and then says, okay, cool. If my initiative is higher than you, put me higher on the list. So that as we read the list from top to bottom, hey, guess what? We end up with, why do I have headphones? So that as you read the list from top to bottom, you essentially have fastest to slowest. Easy, easy, easy stuff. The ideas that I had that I really wanted, aside from this initiative list, is this idea of an action list. So when I pick an action, I'm essentially going to create an interfaced class and store whatever information I need. So if I'm casting a spell, what level am I casting it at and who is my target? If I'm attacking, I can do anything from basic attack and target to I can actually go so far as to say I want basic attack, sub-attack type, target, and backup or something. So we've got a lot of information we can encode into each of these. And we just want to make sure that the interface is there so that we can talk to all of them evenly. And so far, the only piece of interface that we actually need is this process action function, which is going to end up being used in a start coroutine function. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle here, but I'll show you guys. It'll be really freaking awesome when it all lines up. Morning, Paft, and everyone else in chat. Man, there are a number of people who show up when I show up. Some other things that I also did last night, some very basic stuff. This idea of a combat action. Everybody has a common set of combat actions, and I store that in an enumeration, right? Very basic enumeration here, and I do it in a flag format just so I can send multiple at a time. And then from there, based on what actions are active for a player, I then set buttons to active or inactive. It's not a terribly in-depth thing, but it's just something I needed to do. Specifically when it comes to stuff like all the commonalities between player characters. Everyone can probably attack. Everyone can probably run from a fight. I just want to make sure that everything works kind of as expected. Paft is asking if I can explain a bit more about enum flags. Yeah, sure. So enum flags, so enumerations usually are simply a counting mechanism. You say, I have an enumeration called products, and it will hold apples, bananas, mangoes, and oranges or something. And apples is 0, therefore bananas is 1, mangoes is 2, and oranges is 3, right? It's just a way of defining a constant in a system. And normally they count upwards one at a time. What you do with a flag is flags, instead of being their own separate number, flags are part of a number. So, for example, a 32-bit integer can have 32 different flags inside of it. That kind of leaves you a lot of room to play with things, and it's for combinatoric ideas. So when I say a character's status conditions, right, they can be sick, they can be hungry, they can be tired, they can be poisoned, they can be diseased, and all of these things are not mutually exclusive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a combination of them that I like, and then say, okay, these two, I want these two to happen at the same time. And so you'll note that the way I define the flags, I do so by using left shifting. So 1 left shifted 0 times is 1. 1 left shifted once is 2. 1 left shifted twice is 4. Each time I'm setting a different bit inside an integer. And then when I want to test whether a integer has a certain flag, all I have to do is AND the variable against the flag. And if that's not 0, it has it. Simple as that. Flags are really powerful, really nice ways to pass a lot of information when you need a state of something and it's not a mutually exclusive state. It's definitely neat. I like the touch that it gives, and especially for something like combat actions, where it's like, if you have a player who's fast enough to take multiple combat actions in a turn, I might want to use something like flags. Actually, I don't think I will for that situation, that exact situation, but I'll come up with something for that state too. So let's see. It's pretty straightforward stuff, yeah. And when I click right now, you step up, and hey, look, here's the warrior. And the warrior can only attack, and so he has only an attack button, which cycles through everybody. So now we need to actually build those combat classes so that when we store information, we can actually tell the player, okay, you picked attack, you should probably do that now. So let's see. The question is, where do I put those? I guess I could put those here, or I could put these at the bottom of this file, because they're not mono behaviors. They don't really have a home in the same way that, say, the scriptable objects or the mono behaviors do. They have kind of a different placement. I'm just going to make a different file though, and I'm going to call it combat actions. There we go. Nuke some unused and references to things. And this should not be a class. I'm actually just going to copy over, or yeah, I'm just going to move this interface over to this file. What is, oh, IEnumerator is just part of collection, not collection generic. Got it. Got it. Alright, and instead of combat actions, this will be, so we'll have an attack action, which is a kind of combat action. And the attack action holds a couple pieces of information, right? It has, let's see, I'm kind of tempted to put player character into each of these so that they know who their owner is. I could get away with not doing that though. I already know the owner because when I store the information, I store it alongside the character. So when I do the lookup, I know who the character is already. So I don't think I need to store that. But I should store the target. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to even skip that for now. Which means that all we have to do is the process action. And I do know we need to pass it at least the resolution root so that I can change the text inside of it. And I probably should, I should get the character from somewhere, right? Or I should, let's not say it's, Yeah, I'll just do player character for now. I'm trying to think of a way to make it multi-purpose enough that I could, for example, get, oh, I know what I need to do. Okay. I know what I need to do here. We have a combat, what? A participant. Participant. Haha, okay, there we go. And we need the following information. We need to be able to grab their name, right? So, I'll say combat name, because I can't come up with anything better. And I should have other information here. But essentially, anytime I use a player character or a non-player character, I can just tack this onto the end, and then I can have the common information between them pass back and forth. Should be pretty simple. Should be. We'll see if it actually is. Yeah, we'll see. It hopefully will be. Let's see, I can close that, I can close that. Probably that. Just only want to have the relevant information in front of us. Otherwise it gets a little crazy when you have like 30 files open and nothing here is what you're hunting for. And it's just like, why is it all here? Instance. I forgot my labeling, so I'm just kind of filling some of that in. What do you mean it doesn't? Oh, whoops. Let's update our interface, because our interface is actually old. There we go. Yeah, there are going to be things in here just to satisfy the interface, and I'm not terribly happy about it, but I think it also makes for cleaner code in some ways than than some of the alternatives that I came up with. I spent a lot of time poking at this yesterday, and it definitely had its kind of ups and downs as I came up with a few completely over-engineered solutions, and then also a couple kind of, for lack of better words, a couple underpowered solutions that would not have had the kick that I needed. They wouldn't have had all the data or the access to things to keep it nice and controlled and flexible. Flexible is the big thing that I want this to be. Regardless of what I do, I need a lot of this to be flexible. And that's just difficult sometimes to keep code flexible regardless of what's going on the inside. It can be really difficult. Alright. Whoop, why are you? Okay, yeah, I can reload all, sure. Thanks, Visual Studio. Okay. Process action. So I don't really choose a target, so to speak. I just kind of attack the first person in the list right now, which is fine. So I've got a character, and we've got the resolution route. I'm tempted to pass it combat UI, but I really shouldn't. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to automatically make everybody attack the first person. So the first person who is an opponent in the list. So for example, is that a game object? I think that's a game object. No, it's an iCombat participant. There we go. Because, you know, combat participants always tend to attack other combat participants. Target. Oh gosh. Okay, so here's how we're going to play this. And I need to look at names of things again. So we're going to pull up our combat prefab, or combat UI real quick. I need to see the names of things, because, okay, it's just action text. Like, it's just one big thing. Got it. Dot transform, dot find child, action text, get component, text. Cool. Text equals. So we're going to start with names here. Character dot combat name text target dot combat name. And since this is so long, I'm actually going to start shifting elements to the next line. So and so attacks so and so. End line, yield, return new, wait 4 seconds, and we'll make the combat action wait like a half second. Oh, 1/1000. Yeah, it's not too bad. I like how instead of saying 1 second, I said 1/1000. Just like a off the top of my head reaction, I swear. I'm not actually. Yeah, I need to figure out some details now about how people attack each other. Or I need to pull up my Google Drive more than anything else. Because this is where that giant design doc I showed you guys yesterday kind of kicks in. I've got a lot of stuff in here. Homebrew RPG system. That's what we're hunting for, though. Specifically, where's combat? Combat actions. Oh, and I don't even have any of the skills in. So, characters have attack skills on top of their weaponry and other things, so that as they fight and level up, they can get better at it. Right now, I've got 0 ways to track that. Like, that information just isn't stored anywhere. Yeah, it's under weaponry, right? Here's all the different weapon skills you can have. Archery, axes, blunt weapons, bows and staves, like all of that good stuff. And it's nice that I have it all, but none of it's in the game yet. Did I have like a 2-hit? Okay, I have a chance to hit, I see. So I know I'm doing, okay, for example, for character A to hit character B with fists, character A rolls the following. So I need access to their stats. That's the other thing here. I'm trying to think of like all the things that can go into a to-hit roll and finding a good way to pass that information around. I'm thinking that the combat participant might be the way to do that. So, yeah. I also like how I just say, like, you have to roll higher than the difficulty. Well, what's the difficulty here? Okay, a difficulty 10 means what? Where did that number come from? Like, I came up with these ideas at some point, but these ideas are so far gone from when I wrote them. Okay, combat thoughts. Okay, the dice of your coordination plus your weapon skill. Versus the defender's dice for their reasoning and their coordination. Okay, that makes sense. I like that. I can handle that. Let's say, for now, because everyone seems to generate their own defense and also generate their own offense, I'm just going to have like a get to hit roll, and I'll just make everybody roll their own dice. Kind of makes the most sense that way right now. Int get defense roll. Right, and in most RPGs, both sides don't tend to roll dice. Only one side tends to. Usually it's the attacker who rolls, and the difficulty is set at the defender's value of some kind. In this case, because we're on a computer, and the computer is the one doing all the calculations, like, rolling dice is a slow thing in an RPG, but it's got tension in it. Here, because all the numbers are rolled for you, and there's no dice rolling on the table, it's easier for us to roll more dice, because that adds extra variability to the situation. If some guy's defense is so high I can technically never hit it, then I should just make him roll for it, because if he rolls low and I roll high, it might shift us into that range where I could suddenly hit him off this like miraculous, you know, crazy chance. So yeah, I'll add these three functions really quickly to both player character and non-player character. And then we should be able to just have basic combat like right out the gates. Oh, I might also need hit point access in here. Okay, so I really hate the fact that I'm just copying both this information on both sides, but I really don't see a better way to do this. Blasted. I really wish I could make everybody like player characters, or could I? I just had a thought that might save me a ton of time if this is the case. Prefabs, monsters. I'm just looking for a small object. Can I attach a bat to this? No. Bat is and I can't drop it into the scene. So it's an asset that is a game. It's not a game object. It's just an asset that has information attached to it. It's a script, but it has nothing attached to it. Because I could make a mono behavior that simply holds the stats for the character. It seems a little silly, but I could. That way it could come from a scriptable object and somehow still have all the information that lives inside a player character. And that way I wouldn't have to fight with... Let's see, so all characters would be a scriptable object, right? But I'd still need the pass-through. That would be the part that's a pain in the ass. But it would be less pass-through because I would just pass around the scriptable object that is the character scriptable object. It wouldn't be non-player character anymore. It would switch into character. Because right now, non-player character is the thing. Because otherwise there's going to be a lot of copied code. And that's not something I'm a fan of right now. You'll note that a lot of this information, like this to hit roll and the defense roll and the damage roll, are all going to be pieces of information that get copied around a lot. You know what? Actually, it might not. I'm going to keep going, and maybe I'll come up with a better solution for this as I go. We'll see. So the to hit roll, what did I say that was? That was the dice for your coordination, and I need to write a dice function. So we need a new class for that. Just a game util class, right? Every game eventually needs one of these. There we go. And I need to get my HDL table across. It's essentially a dice table that just says the higher the stat, the more dice or the different types of dice that you roll. Now, for now, I don't need to go all the way up to 18. I can actually just cheat my way probably 1 through... gosh, but some people do have some pretty high stats, huh? Case. There is no case 0. Oh, different random. I have to get used to the fact that Unity has its own random. And I really wish they hadn't put it in the same namespace as system. That's the one that bothers me, is the fact that Unity put their number, their random class, in their base namespace, and system has a random class that is also in its base namespace, and so the two collide if you use both system and Unity engine. It's actually incredibly annoying. Is that really the case? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. 1 and 4, and then I do 1 and 6. Whoops. This kind of simplifies the whole dice system. The reason I did this initially was that when it comes to, okay, it just goes 8, 10, 12. When it comes to rolling dice, for RPG systems, they tend to boil most everything down to a single die roll, and it's kind of easier on the math and easier on people's heads if they sit there and have one very simple number to roll, or all your stats will boil down to some simple modifier. You know, yes, you have a strength of 11, but we don't actually care about that 11. We care about the fact that the 11 is a +2 in that stat. And suddenly the stat just doesn't really matter much anymore. In fact, it only matters when you're leveling up, because when you push that stat 1, is it going to push the modifier up 1? Maybe, right? It's not actually a given that it will do that. And so it's nice to be able to have stats be meaningful again. There's none of this crap around, let's see, 2d8. 1, 8 plus. And so it kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. Instead of your stats boiling down to a smaller, easier to work with number, your stats ultimately tend to stay in a place in which they honestly actually matter when it comes to your scores. 1 and 10, 1 and 10, 1 and 10, 1 and 12. The reason I'm still splitting these out into their own numbers is that if I use random range and just generate a range of numbers aside from two different disparate numbers and adding them together, is that the bell curve doesn't exist anymore. I'd have a completely linear chance of everything happening, and that's not actually how I want this to work. I do like having that bell curve in the system. And so what I'm doing is I'm just adding them together as if I were rolling 2 dice. And that makes my life a whole lot easier. Because now I still get that same bell curve, and I just have to call the same function once or twice. And while these may seem like somewhat random numbers for stats and things, I definitely have done the math at some point. They are, let's see, 2d8 and 10. 1d8 and 2d10, okay. And it is a good rising arc. It's not the greatest thing I've ever designed, but I think it's workable for this prototype, or not prototype, this game. And if I get to a point where I feel like it's not serving me, I can always rewrite the underlying dice rolling mechanic. That shouldn't be too bad. Let's see, I just did 15, so I'm on 16. 2d10 and a 12. There's my 10s and a 12. Almost done, guys. We're only going up to 18. That's a 10 and 2 12s. And I think the last one is 3 12s, yeah. And the reason I stopped at 12s was because the next die up is a d20 in terms of actual like physical dice. And if I want to prototype this, I want to be able to actually be able to like use the dice I have available. And so I only went up to the sizes of actual dice that exist in physical format, or at least are common in physical format. And then I proceeded to do a little math and do some probability stuff and make sure that it's kind of all taken care of here. So if I call GameUtil.roll, and what I can do is I can now roll my stat. So remember, I'm rolling coordination plus my reasoning. So our coordination plus the reasoning. This is what we return. And see, just like that, we've taken that design doc that I started oh so long ago, and we're starting to really make it relevant. It's good to have done that design beforehand. For this case, it is our, what are we rolling for defense? Coordination and reasoning. Oh, okay, it's the same thing. Really? Coordination and reasoning. I mean, it makes some sense, right? The to hit seems like it should always be... Oh, okay, to hit includes weapon skill. It's your coordination plus your weapon skill. We'll just say everyone's got a weapon skill of like 4 and put it to do here. Cool. So there's our attack roll, there's our defense roll, our damage roll. I also don't remember how I wanted to calculate that. Do I have that here? Damage resolution. Dice of the weapon plus strength over 2 minus the dice of their armor. And that if you roll less than 0, then it counts as a glancing hit. For now, we're just going to roll the dice of, we need more magic numbers here. Let's say our characters always roll their strength. No, that's not right. Let's say, I don't know, 10. I like 10. Even, decent number. Plus, it's that plus strength over 2. Plus strength over 2. There we go. Just like that, we now have the information on how we hit and defend for our player. And we have the same here. Oh, and then just in case, I'm going to put a default in here. And we're going to log an error if we hit a stat that is outside our given range. There we go. I'm just going to return 0 as an error number. Let's see here. Attack action. Okay, so in the combat UI, when you click choose attack action, we're going to do a few things. One is we're going to figure out whose turn it is. So we have some object whose turn it is. It's like our turn owner, I guess. It's our choice owner. And that's coming from our, let's see, character list. So it's our characters at the current player choice index. And we have this dictionary full of objects. I don't know if I want to go objects or player characters. For now, why don't we just do player characters? And I'll fix other stuff later. So action list for the choice owner is equal to a new attack action, whose target is probably, let's see, we need to figure that out. We need to set target. Otherwise, we're going to look a little silly, right? Not having an attack target does kind of cause us trouble. I guess I'll just look through the initiative list and whoever's the top of the initiative list. Is that the way to do it? I think that's the way to do it. These should not be a combat participant. Okay, back to assigning. So we have the owner. We also need to find the target. So we're just going to say for each combat participant in the initiative list, if participant is a non-player character, this should probably go first, so I'm not holding stored variables for no reason. The action list of the choice owner is going to be equal to the participant, and then we're going to break out of our loop. Ooh, interesting. The moment I pass it into there we go. Now I can pass it in there, and I have a reference here. There we go. The moment I passed into the action list, it was being cast into its interface type, and so I would lose the innards of the actual type that it held, and therefore I couldn't set specific variables inside of it. So I think we've done all the work necessary at this point to get actions stored. The only piece of the puzzle that we haven't finished at this point is that we need to start doing the turn order sequence. So now that everybody has chosen what they're going to do, we need to actually do the action that they've chosen. And we need to insert the monster actions into this system as well. Hi, puppy. Hey, buddy. You have been ejected from the bedroom, huh? He must have been a pain in the butt. Girlfriend just literally dumped him in the room and was like, okay, cool, back to bed she goes. Alright, so how do we handle this? We've got the advanced player choice. That's nice. Oh, and we have, that's right, we were going to do this all with a ton of coroutines. That was the point of this whole thing, is we were going to start stringing coroutines together to get combat processed. He does not seem to be having this, like, cuddle session here. Ooh, there we go. Down it goes. So, oh, and here's our coroutine start. Here's the process combat. Okay, so at the start of combat, what do? We need to go through each person in the list. So we say for each combat participant in the initiative list. And this lets us go through it in order. This can't be a for each, unfortunately, because people may die during combat. So I need to make sure that I'm not using a for each loop, because for each requires an enumerator, and when you invalidate a list or collection using that enumerator, you can't really, obviously C# will just complain. Participant. So this should be fairly straightforward at this point. Each person that comes up, we're going to get our action resolution route. Of course, the moment I delete the prefab is the moment I need it again, just to see what names are, because I want to make sure I don't muck any of this up. It's just action text. Got it. Action text dot get component text. So we blank the text. One sec, guys. Voila, I have returned. Okay, let's see here. Right, okay, so we blank action text, and then we need to go through each coroutine and yield on them all. So we say yield return, because, let's see here. If the participant is a player character, we know that we have their action already set out for us, and that we shouldn't really be doing anything too silly about it. So we say we need to return, excuse me, sorry about that, guys. Dog just decided to cause his own dog alarm at something that I don't even... as far as I can tell, he doesn't even bark at things sometimes. He just kind of makes noise. That dog, right? Alright, so we have a coroutine. We're going to wait for the coroutine to finish because we have access to it. So we go into our action list. Whoops. I have to be able to type things, of course. Let's see, participant as player character. And we're going to do that process action step. So here is our action resolution list and our participant. Okay, that seems like a bit of a convoluted line. I think I want to break it up into at least one other piece. There we go. Player character. So this will at least simplify this line quite a bit. So here's our player character. That's decent. I can do that. And then we'll give ourselves like a second maybe between actions. If any of these are too long, we can just shorten them. In fact, why don't we just do this? Really, dog? We'll call this the combat delay time. And we'll dump it into Unity so that in times when we don't feel like waiting for combat, we can crank the number down and watch it go really quickly. And other times we can, you know, sit here at our leisurely pace and do things that way. Combat UI, come on. So we'll make it a second normally. You can hear him, just little wolves in the back. Little wolves. Alright. And then when we're done, we're going to go back to just doing our thing. Let's see if this works. I'm curious if I missed anything, or if this will go off without a hitch. So I tell everybody to attack. The rogue attacks the bat, the cleric, the mage, the warrior, and then we're back to the beginning, where after I click 4 more times... Okay, cool. And you can notice it's going in initiative order. So our warrior is the slowest, our rogue is the fastest. So as I click on these, you can see it's got the same order every time. And now the other thing you'll note is that the monsters aren't included in that list. So when I'm standing here fighting things, the monsters aren't actually fighting back. Man, I really want to bring this down further or bring the monsters up higher. The problem with bringing the monsters up higher is that it won't work if the UI will still continue to be in the way. I really don't want the UI to be in the way. I'll have to figure that one out. The other neat thing we can do is because this is running inside a coroutine itself, we can actually, inside the combat actions, do our own coroutines in here. So we can say, what was it? Like, Wizardry used to actually break the text up into multiple pieces. So it's not attacks, it's, like, it would say, so-and-so swings sword at this monster, and it would break it up into pieces so that you could get the flow of combat that the computer was seeing and kind of understand what was going on. And so it would break it into a couple pieces. Wait for seconds. Yeah, for now I'm not going to do that. Well, okay. So it's wait for a second. We now need to do the dice rolls, right? We haven't actually done any of those yet. So if, let's see here, I should get the dice. Ah, no, I don't need to. Get to hit roll. Actually, I need to grab the people. So if the character get to hit roll is greater than the target get defense roll, then we are going to say, I'm just going to dump this into a Boolean real quick, just so that I can use it in multiple places. So if we hit, we then say the resolution. Once again, I need more variables, more temp variables. Ah, the tip-tap of little feet. There we go. This makes it a lot easier. So we say the text UI. We're going to add a new line. Let's see. We're actually going to add a pair of new lines. We're going to say, I'm using rich text in Unity, and rich text allows you to do HTML-ish things. I just don't know what the syntax looks like, so I need to make sure that I am doing this correctly. Okay, yeah. I say color is red, and then I slash color. The weirdest thing, but whatever. Hit otherwise. Let's just add the new lines in here, so I don't have to add them in anywhere else. Color equals white. Actually, I don't even need a color tag here, do I? I'll put a color tag in just in case. So there's our hit and miss on our text. Yield return. We'll wait another second out the gate. And then if there's damage, we can roll. So if we hit, we can also roll damage underneath it. So we'll add a new line, and then we will have to roll damage first, I suppose. This is our character. Roll damage, or get damage roll, sorry. And that should be that. And if we really wanted to get fancy, we could slap some like sound effects in, so you know when you hit, you get the sword whooshing. But you know, one thing at a time, right? So he attacks the bat. It's a hit and damage. Okay, that damage thing is going by way too fast. What is going on here? Oh really? I can pass hex code? Heck yes. I am so down. I love hex so much more. than I do like the word red or the word white. I can just like, I mean, it looks the same, but it just works so much better. So much more control, yes. Wow, everybody's hitting? Really?
At the same time?
It makes me wonder if the monsters have such poor stats that like you can't help but hit them because you roll so much higher. I'm just gonna, just pure curiosity on my part. Let's see here. I'm going to break these out into their own variables. Just so I can see the innards of what's going on. Combat roll. Hit, roll. Versus what's going to be our defense roll. Makes me wonder if my RPG system is terrible on the inside. If I actually, like, designed this well, or if... That or if I just didn't give these monsters enough stats, so they can't really hold their own. There we go. Now I can actually see each roll as it goes past. Find out exactly what's going wrong here. Or not what's going wrong, but, you know. Okay, 12 versus a 5, a 10 versus a 10. So that actually should have been a miss. I wasn't actually watching. And then a 10 versus a 5. You note, though, that the numbers tend to be pretty disparate. So let's crank the bat stats up a little bit, because clearly it's getting the snot kicked out of it. So let's just turn everything it owns up to a 6. Just to take care of that a little bit. So everybody attacks. The rogue hits for a ton of damage. Cleric hits for... Oh, the cleric doesn't hit. The mage hits. And then the warrior hits. That was closer, but I still wasn't a huge fan. I'm actually tempted to push this a little higher across the board. Just maybe. And then we have to take care of how monsters fight back. That's the big thing that I haven't really done a ton of control over. But that's going to have to happen tomorrow, unfortunately. Because, guys, it is late. It is almost 9 o'clock. I disconnected my car battery yesterday and forgot to reconnect it. So I probably should go do that as well. So tomorrow we're going to do two things. One, we're going to start giving things health so that they can die. Because that kind of, you know, is expected. You stab a monster enough and it should probably stop moving. And then the other part that we need to do is we're going to get the monsters to start hitting back. And the final thing I might be able to squeeze in tomorrow, and I really hope I can because it would be interesting, is everything in combat costs energy, right? You swing a sword, you move around, you dodge. Everything that happens eats up a little bit of energy. And so as this person's stamina, or as their energy drops, they will pass out when they hit 0, right? You can't just fight ad nauseum forever. There will come a point where you'll just straight up pass out if you fight long enough. And so we want to start reflecting that in our characters. They're not these like tanks that can just go forever. So that's also going to be in tomorrow's stream. Thank you guys very much for joining me. It's been a good step forwards today. We made a lot of progress on getting things kind of plugged in and getting started on like how we want these monsters to fight us in return. And getting basic combat in here. It's not the most in-depth system we've ever created, but, you know, it's not bad, honestly. It is fairly flexible and has a lot of places that we could still improve it. So, thanks for joining me. If you haven't followed me already, there's a nice shiny follow button down below wherein you will get emails each time I go online. I do this Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And you can hop on, watch me make, you know, a little more each morning. I tend to do longer streams on the weekends if this little like power hour each morning isn't getting it through that, you know, you want to see more, you want more. So we'll work on that. We'll work on getting like a standard weekend time so you guys can hop online and always see me. Obviously, short of distractions such as, you know, friends getting married and having weddings. Ugh, sheesh. All right. Thanks again, guys, for joining me. Hopefully, I will see you tomorrow morning, right? Yeah, today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Yes, so I have one more morning stream tomorrow. See you then. And if you can't catch the streams, go to the YouTube channel. I'm archiving things there as quickly as I can. So if you missed something, it'll be there. Catch you later.